मंगलम भगवान वीरो मंगलम गौतम प्रभु।
ॐ नमो अरिहन्ताणं नमो सिद्धाणं नमो आयर्याणं नमो वचायाणं नमो लोये सवसाहूणम्।
Jai Jinendra and welcome to Mangalam. Today we bring you another exciting episode. As you know, YJ convention is coming up soon. With that in mind, we are bringing portions of last YJ convention to you. Today we bring to you a very powerful speaker, Cyrano Kelly, who talks to us about how our egos get formed, how they give us our identity, and how we struggle with this identity all our life. Please enjoy. Thank you.
I recently had a television show that was produced by ABC TV as a primetime special featuring my work. I've been a media skills coach to the White House. And what I really do for a living is what some people call transformation. So what I do is I change people's lives. When I state it as kind of like what my purpose is to give every human being full access to their full potential. One of the things that I like see, and I feel like I see this, is that you're not very conscious or very present. Do you remember how I told you I'm able to see this about people? You can remember all that? Okay, take a shot. What are some of the ways that I can see that about a person? So your pupils become very small, right? Because what happens is it narrows the amount of light that you would receive from the outside because you're focused actually on what's going on inside of your own head. So I can tell when you're really paying attention, when you're not. What else can I see? So what happens is your facial muscles become flaccid. What also happens is when I'm talking to you, your eyes go back and forth while I'm talking to you, because your eyes go back and forth at the rate that you're talking to yourself in your own head. Your breathing also shifts. The reality is when you're not present, it is blatantly obvious, except to you. And what I notice when I meet you is I notice that as human beings, we're not very present. Now, we're not very present, which means we must be thinking about something. And I'm just wondering, what is it that we're normally thinking about so much all the time that has us be preoccupied? What are you all normally thinking about?
Random.
No. It's random, but there's a connection. It's all connected to a character called who? Me. Isn't that interesting? That there's a character called me. And that our thoughts are often about, like, so let's say you and I are talking, and I'm looking at you like I'm so intensely interested. Well, I'm thinking I've only eaten half the brownie, the other half is there, But I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, wow, my leg itches, but I don't want to seem weird, And I'm talking to you, right? And I'm like, wow, I'm wondering, like, my plane's going to be leaving soon, But, like, do I say to that? No, I'm just, like, looking at you like, wow, that's interesting. And that's what we do. And our thoughts are generally about ourselves. And in an earlier session, we actually discovered and distinguished this character called me. So let me introduce you to yourself. Now, let me ask you, when you were a little kid, were you busy thinking about the past or the future? Were you thinking like, when you were about like 2 months old, were you thinking like, wow, I can't wait to grow up and pay bills? Were you thinking that? Probably not. When you got to be like a year old and you were walking, you fell down, did you think to yourself, I could never suck on a pacifier well, I'm just such a loser. I have such a hard time wearing diapers, Did you? So like, none of that was present for you, right? 2 years old, 3 years old, but at a certain point something happens. And when that happens, you get an identity. Call it your ego. Call it me. And on the day that you get that, that becomes what you struggle with for the rest of your life. So what is that identity? What is that ego? What is it that has us be so self-absorbed? That has us not be in the present? That has us always be thinking about what's next, where am I going, what do people think about me? What do people think? Am I okay? Am I okay? Am I okay? Like, what has us always be that way? Well, let's take a look at that example for me. And some of you know that example, so I'll go through it a little quickly. So when I was little, I was in the present moment. Life was great. You know, if I was in an airport and the plane was late, I would become a plane. I would it wouldn't matter. If the car was stuck in traffic, I'd climb up in the back and I thought it was a sun tanning booth. You follow? I would just get up in the window. Everyone that I met was like a friend. I would play with anybody. There were no such things as strangers, and I wasn't trying to get anywhere. Life was all right here, right now. And then one day at about 3 years old, my mother said to me, in about 9 months, I'm going to bring you home a baby brother. And I got all excited, like, oh, wow, I'll have a baby brother. Mommy, what's a baby brother? I had no idea what a baby brother was. So then, like all parents, they began the sales job. You know, where they whip out the books and start reading about how you're going to be a big brother. This is the pitch. They're getting you ready for what's about to go down. So I'm reading the book, and I'm like, wow, I'm going to be a big brother. That's great. And then what happens is 9 months later, they bring home this little package. I'm like, wow, can I hold my baby brother? I have a baby brother. The little bastard. Because here's what happens. People come around, but they don't want to see me so much anymore. Who do they want to see? Who do they want to see? The baby brother. And what do they all say about my baby brother? What do they say about babies? Isn't he cute? He's so cute. He's so cute, you know. Now, I don't recall anyone telling me that I was cute. So what happens is I actually began to sulk. I began to stutter. Didn't learn how to speak again until I was 6 years old. And they didn't know what was wrong with me. So like, you know, a while went by, and like a year later, I'm still sulking. My mother's in the kitchen, preparing some vegetables. She's cutting some vegetables, and the big red rubber band falls on the floor, and I pick it up, and I'm playing with it, and I pull the rubber band really far, and I stretch it, and it slips also, and I pop myself. Ow, that hurts! I pick up the rubber band. All of a sudden, the thought occurs to me: I can go into the room next door and shoot my baby brother in the face with this rubber band. Now, being a kid, you don't know how to lie. You don't know how to be disingenuous. You just tell the truth. You're like, hey, mommy, guess what? Guess what? She goes, baby, I'm cooking. What? Can't you play nicely? I said, I'm gonna go into the room next door and shoot that baby brother in the face with this rubber band. My mother was only 23 years old. Hadn't really learned a whole lot of communication skills on the farm. She said the following: Negro, you do that, and I will kill you. She thought a threat would be sufficient, so she went back to cooking. I got up real quiet-like and went into the room, and there he was, laying in his crib, sucking on a pacifier. I took the rubber band across the entire span of my body. I aimed my trigger finger right at his eye between those slats. When I let go, boy, did he wail. Ah! My mother comes running in, the baby's screaming. There's a big red mark underneath his eye. Rubber band in the crib. I'm standing in the corner looking all coy like, I wonder why the baby's crying. She flies into a rage. Grabs me by the ankles. Next thing you know, the room is upside down. I see the shoe come off the foot. That's the last thing I see. By the time she drops me, I hit the ground running, and I run into the bathroom. I slam the door, and I look in the mirror, and I ask myself the same question you did at some point in your life. Why did this happen to me? Why me? Answer came back immediately. You know what the answer was? I know why this happened to you. Mommy doesn't love you because you're a bad boy, and no one wants to see you because you're so ugly. You know, if you were lighter skinned like the baby, Mommy would love you. But you, no one loves you because you're the dark one. You're ugly. I hate you. And on that day, I got my identity for the rest of my life.
For your tax-free donations, suggestions, and comments, please visit mangalamshow.com.
If you think you're bad and ugly, then you'll probably try to look good, talk well, dress well, right? You'll do all these things to cover it up. You'll have to be really good because what you think is that you're really bad. As a human being, you have an identity. That identity is based on something happened to you between the ages of 3 to 6, and you said something about yourself, and you've been living it out ever since. And you tell yourself that, once I can drive, and once I go to college, and once I make more money, it'll be better. You just want to get that it hasn't gotten any better for you, and that it will stay that way until the day you die. What are the kinds of things that people decide about themselves? You know what you decided about yourself. Like, let's just take a look at some of the most popular ones. I'm stupid. I'm a disappointment. I'm unlovable. I don't belong. I'm a disappointment. I'm fat. Like, you just want to take a look that there's like something that you said about yourself as a kid, and you've been grappling with it ever since. I'm worthless. I'm unlovable. And let me ask you a question. People who act really superior, what must they be feeling on the inside that has them feel the necessity to act superior? What must they be feeling? Inferior. Why would you feel the need to act superior? Bill Gates doesn't have to act superior, he is. It's not an act. Right? Someone who acts really tough, like, mom! Someone who acts really tough, what is it? How do they feel on the inside?
Weak.
Really weak. And someone who acts really, really bright, what do they think they really are? Really stupid. What I look to do in this world is to be a catalyst for, the next Martin Luther King, the next Gandhi. So when I say I train leaders, I don't mean like I'm training them just to survive and get through the world. Like, people come to me to be trained because they expect to be pushed. And my expectations are really, really high for human beings. Because I know what you're capable of. And I also know that without being pushed, you perform or can perform so far below what's really possible for you. So one way to lead your life is to lead your life unconsciously as a reaction to something that happened. Like you mentioned that you burnt yourself with an iron. What was it? Say that again.
I burned myself in an iron, and then 2 days later, I burned myself again.
In the same place?
Yeah.
Right. And then what did you say about yourself at that point? What did you say?
I guess I didn't learn from the previous time.
Right, so you either said something like either I'm stupid or I'm clumsy.
Yeah.
And then here you are, right? And how old were you when that happened?
18.
All right, well, what happens is, you know what? That means that then something else happened even prior to that.
I burned myself with a cigarette lighter.
Right, so like if we keep going back, what we'll find is, we'll find that there's the first time that it happened to you, and then there was something that you said. And then every time in life, your life happens that way, you're always like, it's always like, kind of like, well, it figures. It figures, because after all. So that's one way that a person can lead their life. When we take a look at, for example, great spiritual leaders, they too had to overcome an ego. And the practices that help one to do that are practices like meditation, the reading of scripture, good company, or satsanga, or however you define it. Practices like ahimsa. Am I saying that correctly? Say it again. Ahimsa. Okay, so like those sorts of practices are designed for what? To help a human being transcend the ego. Because what's available is something else, and what we'll call that, for argument's sake, is we'll call it your purpose. So this goes back to an earlier question. It's like, for me, like, what was it? Like, there was a curiosity that I had, but there was something that happened to me that had me kind of become who I am, whatever that is. I get into college at 16 years old, right? But then I get a C-, so that doesn't look so good. right? So then I go to Wall Street because Wall Street looks really good. I earned $400,000, but like, you know, they wanted me to earn $1 million, so $400,000 didn't look so good. And so what happens is, here I am, I'm earning $400,000 a year as a stockbroker for a top Wall Street firm. I walk in one day, I pick up the phone, on the phone's my kid's sister. So I'm talking to myself, I say, look, the markets are moving, I can't talk right now. Okay, I'll talk to you when I get home. I'll tell you when I get home. Okay, I go ahead and the phone. She goes, Serrano, would you stop? I'm 23, I'm the oldest. She's 13. My kid's sister just yelled at me for the first time. This better be really good. I go, you got about 30 seconds to explain yourself. What's wrong? Look, I am busy. What's wrong? She goes, you know, Serrano, a space heater fell over in the kitchen in Springfield and the wallpaper caught on fire. And you know, Jody tried to put it out, but she's only 14 years old, and the two boys, 10 and 12, they were on the second floor and they started running out of the house. But then they realized that two of the girls were up in the attic. So they went upstairs to get two of the girls. And when they put the fire out, they found all four of them up in the attic, all huddled in a circle, all in prayer, all dead. She said, I think you better come home. So how important do you think my $400,000 was to me now? I remember standing over the graves of my four cousins. And I had to honestly ask myself if I was truly giving my life its all. Like if I had died at that moment, could I really say I was living my life at 100%? Was I really giving my life its all? I mean, if you had to answer that question, would you honestly be able to say to me right now that you're giving your life 100%? Would you be able to say that? What do you say? No. And the answer was no. It was as if God had drawn a line in the sand for me. But I made a decision to step across that line. And what I did was I gave up my insecurity for a purpose. What is that purpose? My purpose is to give every human being full access to their full potential. This is what I did. This is who I am. It's what I live for, it's what I would die for. So yeah, there's a character called me, right? That's there. But then there's also something else there for me, which is my purpose. And I get to choose which of those I'm going to pay attention to. Because I know that I have an attention, and I know that I could control it. Could. For a person who doesn't have that knowledge, all their thoughts will always be about their insecurity. And they'll have occasional moments of being in the zone, and that's it.
For your tax-free donations, suggestions, and comments, please visit mangalamshow.com. Welcome back to Mangalam. Today in Bhakti Sangeet, we have a youngster who is singing a Rajasthani Bhakti Sangeet. This we got from Astha channel and we are thankful to them. Please enjoy. Thank you.
गाछारे पारस रागे जिनंद अलबेलो रे गाछारे पारस रागे जिनंद अलबेलो रे मुखड़ो मल के रे मामा केरा लाल नो मुखड़ो मल के रे मामा केरा लाल नो झलक झलक झल जो धिनंद अलबेलो रे झलक झलक झल जो धिनंद अलबेलो रे फलिया रे परस प्रभु भेटिया सुर तरु फलिया रे परस प्रभु भेटिया आया रे दादा न दरबार जिनंद अल बेलो रे आया रे दादा न दरबार जिनंद अल बेलो रे कास्या कास्या रे गुड़ियल गीतड़ा कास्या कास्या रे गुड़ियल गीतड़ा कास्या रे परस रागी जिनंद अल बेलो रे कास्या रे परस रागी जिनंद अल बेलो रे देवादि देवा रे भक्ति स्वीकार दे देवादि देवा रे भक्ति स्वीकार दे शिवमणि न भरता जिनंद अल बेलो रे शिवमणि न भरता जिनंद अल बेलो रे कास्या कास्या रे गुड़ियल गीतड़ा कास्या कास्या रे गुड़ियल गीतड़ा कास्या रे परस रागी जिनंद अल बेलो रे 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 थैंक यू
In Youth Corner today, we present to you the views of our youngsters about our YJ convention and the religion in general. Please enjoy their views. Thank you.
मङ्गलाणं च सौवेसिं पठमं हवै मङ्गलम्
Hi, my name is Shardul Shah. I'm 21 years old and I'm a senior attending Case Western in Cleveland, Ohio. In this year's convention, I chose to run a couple of sessions, one for college kids and one for high school age kids. It was on the influence that Jainism has on American society and the influence that American society can have on Jainism. What I tried to teach the kids was that in order to fully understand Jainism, you also need to understand other religions as well in order to fit into the greater part of society instead of being a minority. I think it was a positive feedback. I believe they were really into the session. My hope is that they were able to take away just one thing. If one person was able to take away one thing, I think I did my duty as a speaker, and I learned a lot from them actually, and hopefully they learned a lot from me as well. Part of the discussion that I had was the role of God in Jainism, which is very ambiguous, and I'm not sure what to think about that myself. And so what I asked was for opposing viewpoints as to whether there is a God in Jainism or whether there's not a God in Jainism. And I got both sides of the argument, and it worked out well. Unfortunately, since I'm not at home anymore, I can't do regular prayers in the morning like I would have liked to. In college, you don't have enough time to because you wake up just before classes and you go, and in the evening you're consumed with activities. So in terms of actual ritualistic practice, I find myself doing it less. 10, 15 years down the road, I think I would be happiest with a Jain wife. I mean, other people can choose whatever beliefs they feel, but I would be happiest with a Jain wife. And hopefully our kids will be raised Jain as well, and they can go out and enjoy the advantages that Jainism has to offer. I think, I'm not sure it's about Jainism being a role. Jainism is my life. The way that I learn, the way that I learn from people, from society, Jainism is the way I live my life. I mean, there's pluses and minuses of every gathering like this. In terms of advantages, I think kids get a wide variety of information. They're able to hear from Jain speakers, and they're able to hear from non-Jain speakers as well as to what they can do about Jainism and how society can impact them as well. Conventions like this are very short. They're 2.5 days. There's so much activity going on that once you leave, it's almost like a rush. So you aren't able to enjoy the moment. You aren't able to enjoy the convention as much as you would have liked.
Thanks for joining us today. please join us next time when we will bring you another exciting episode of Mangalam. Until then, please write to us at mangalamshow@gmail.com and please visit our website at www.mangalamshow.com. Until next time, Jai Jinendra.